This is Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans with me, Cheryl Burke, an iHeartRadio podcast. Hey guys, welcome to Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans. This is your host, Cheryl Burke, and I have a very special guest. Her name is Trista Sutter. If you don't know her, you got to get out under that rock because she is the OG of everything, even Dancing with the Stars. That's really hard for me to say because I consider myself the OG, but she was the first ever celebrity star to be a part of season 1 of Dancing with the Stars in 2005, the first eliminated, unfortunately, and also the first contestant, I would say, to be a part of the Bachelorette franchise. We talk all the dirt, all the reasons why she thinks she got eliminated, and a little background of, just where we come from and what we have in common. This is a juicy interview. You definitely don't want to miss it. Please welcome Trista Nicole Sutter. Hi, Trista. I don't think I've ever met. Have we met?
Very briefly at a party. I cannot remember where it was, but I think it was Dancing with the Stars associated. Where, you know what? Was it the 100th episode? Were you at that party?
No, I wasn't invited to that one. This was a weird moment in my life. Yeah, I actually went over to NBC's I Can Do That. It was a different show, and that was during that time. So they forgot. Gosh. They just forgot. Innocent. It's fine. But we definitely met years ago.
Yes.
So let's just get right into it. How was your time on Dancing with the Stars? It's so crazy because I feel like I'm the OG, right? Because I've been on for 26 seasons or something. Yeah. But you started before me, not way before, a season before me, when it was only 6 couples. Season 1 of Dancing with the Stars was in 2005. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. Either 2004 or 5. I can't remember. But yes, yeah. I'm sure you're right.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. Regardless. I mean, how was your experience? To be quite honest, I mean, for me, you were eliminated way too soon, but that's me.
Yeah, that's me too.
Okay, good. I'm glad we have that in common.
Yes. So I was a dancer. I danced for the Miami Heat and, not technically trained or ballroom trained at all. I had never taken a ballroom class. And I got a call from ABC's Andrea Wong, who was an exec in charge of unscripted at the time. And when Andrea Wong asks you to do a show, you're like, okay, where do I sign?
Exactly. I shout out to Andrea Wong. I love her.
Love her. Love Andrea. I haven't talked to her in so long. I would love to. Oh my gosh. She's listening to this. But anyway, so she called, asked, and I said, okay, I don't know what I'm getting myself into because, the show had never been done before. As you said, it was the first season. There were only 6 of us. And, you're coming from the world of ballroom, right? And so, partnering. All of these people know partnering. And I am a newly married woman whose husband and back up, Louis at the time was not out.
Okay. I was going to ask you that because I know Louis sometimes says he's gay and sometimes doesn't. And that's okay, regardless. Louis totally. Does Louis. You do you, boo-boo.
Totally.
But yeah, I was thinking to myself, I was like, wait a second. Was this something scripted, right? Because, it's season 1 and you guys are the guinea pigs of this show. Who knew it was going to last this long? But really, I was like, wait a second. What happened here? Hello?
Totally. Yeah. So Louis, Louis is a strong personality. He is so much fun, but he is a strong personality.
Competitive.
And he's basically I remember him being in practice one day or rehearsal and saying, you just can't think about stuff. You just got to feel it. And I'm like, I can't. I need to think about what the hell I'm doing. Because I'm not as good as you. I don't know all of these things that you're teaching me. So anyway, it was really hard for me coming from Miami Heat, where you learn choreography, you're just taught, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's what you do. And you think about everything to going to don't think, just feel, just move, and I'm like, but I can't, that's not what I've learned how to do. And then top that off with, I'm newly married. My husband's like, you're dancing very provocatively, very sensually with someone, and I had never done it before, so I didn't know what I was getting into. Mm-mm. And at the time, he wasn't out. So even though I would be like, babe, I'm pretty sure that
let's be clear here. He's out. He was out even back then. I just don't know if he was out on television.
He wasn't out with me. Like I was like, I'm pretty, like we weren't that close to where he would be like talking about his boyfriends at the time.
Plural boyfriends.
Boyfriends, multiple.
Love you, Louie. I love it.
So, or in the past, so yeah. I was like, babe, you have nothing to worry about. First of all, I think you have nothing to worry about with Louie. Second of all, you have nothing to worry about with me. Like, I am fully committed to you. And I think it's hard. I know it's hard for couples who come on the show.
Yes.
Especially if they're new, like the jealousy, it comes out. So it was hard in that.
Yeah.
So, I think that's definitely a consistent theme for people to struggle, especially if they're newly engaged or newly married or whatever, even if they've been married for 20 years.
I mean, you're dry humping on live we're all dry humping each other. Like, let's just be real. Regardless, like for me, look, it's like acting in a way, I guess, but it comes from a real place. But then after the season, I'm like, lose my number if we didn't get along,
right? But that was not real.
No, it's not. I mean, but that's the whole point. Like we have to have chemistry. You have to, regardless, right? But in order to do that, you have to build a safe space together. And of course, it's hard. Like I will never forget, Dancing with Emmett Smith, and he was married at the time. And it is so hard. And I wanted to go out of my way to make sure, Pat was also involved because like I said, I don't know how the other half of you actually handles it all because it is quite intimate, especially if you're not in the business. So it was a real issue. Is that correct? So I just wanted to make it clear to the audience because it's like we also, I think what the audience doesn't know either, you guys spent quite a lot of time in rehearsal, right? Like before the training period.
That's another thing is that back then they weren't paying the pros for rehearsals. So he was literally driving from Utah and booking his own hotel room, paying for that. You need to have him on and talk about all that. But they weren't paying for anything. So we weren't practicing that often. Now they practice all the time. But I mean,
so how long was your training period?
I mean, it was, I have the worst memory on the planet.
It's okay. It's okay.
So it wasn't long. It was not long, maybe
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, maybe a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
That's like now.
But it was only like a couple hours a day. Like it wasn't like an 8-hour rehearsal that I feel like you guys have now. So,
right. They don't do it now for 8 hours. Oh, so prior to the season, but prior to the premiere, we used to rehearse like season 3. I remember it was like 6 weeks of training, however many hours we wanted, and people started getting injured. So they wanted to make sure that, because we lost quite a few, like Jewel was supposed to be on, like a lot of like good people. Then they got injured because they overdid it. Your body's in shock, obviously, from this, you've never worked some of these muscles before, I'm assuming, some people or most of people. So I think it's mandatory now that it's only like 2 weeks and 4 hours maximum. With obviously you have like these interviews and you're like, what at 4 hours? You're not really getting the full, but it's safety, I think, issues.
And that makes total sense. Yeah. I remember my back was really bad. It was pre back surgery for me, and I had a bad back for like 10 years. So the practices were definitely grueling. But I mean, I'm kind of mentioning negatives. It was an amazing experience. Like I had a great time on the show. I got to dance, which I love to do. I got to meet a bunch of great people and the crews and the producers. And I loved it. I mean, I really do wish I could have lasted longer. I always say my claim to fame is that Evander Holyfield beat me in the dancing competition.
Was it Master P on your season?
No, it was Evander Holyfield, John O'Hurley,
Kelly Monaco. And
Kelly Monaco.
Rachel Hunter.
Rachel, the supermodel. Rachel Hunter, thank you.
McIntyre.
And then Joey.
I mean, come on, Evander Holyfield. I love you, but come on. I mean, there was no, first of all, let me just like tell the audience and the listeners really what, how hard this is. So, okay. I always say the slower dances are the hardest because you see everything. So you know, Len Goodman, rest in peace. You know, oh my God, that broke my heart. I hope I'm sending love to him and his family. But, you know, it was amazing when he actually pointed out, I don't know if you remember the comments. I just watched it recently. It's almost like black and white television at this point, right? Like oh my God, even like season 2, you're like, wait a second, we're borderline black and white. Like this is how old. Oh my God. Anyway, I remember him saying that, you know, props to Louis for giving you basic choreography. And nowadays, it's not about basic choreography. It's all about like tricks and flips and, you know, but for me, and I would say same for Louis, I don't want to speak for him, but we come from the ballroom world. So like I wasn't allowed to, for example, be taught any choreography until I did years and years of just rumba walks. Do you remember rumba walks? Yeah.
Right. Oh, but I mean, rumba is what I went out on. I hated the rumba.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Think about it. What I just told you about the intimacy. And I was like, I just met this guy and I don't feel
grinding
like
on
I
him.
can like connect with him in that like sensual way. So I was so bummed because our jive was the next one and it was going to be
and Louis
so
like a master at jive.
So
but let me just also say, you were dancing to Lionel Richie. I am so sorry. Like that's not necessarily a song you want to grind up to someone with. You know, it's not like you're dancing to Endless Love. Like I am all about, I dance to the music and whatever the music makes me feel.
Yes.
If I were to do a rumba to Lionel Richie, Endless Love, which I have in the past, it is more about the romantic chemistry between the two people. It's the elegance of the rumba. And mind you, love you, Carrie Ann and Bruno, but I must say, the only ballroom person at that time with that experience was Len Goodman. And he gave you a 7. And I have to say for week 2, a 7 is a 10 from Len. And I thought he gave you like an average score. And I think, you know, obviously you don't have anything to compare it to. There's never been another season, but that was hard. Like less is more. And it's always harder to dance and move in stillness than it is to have a bunch of steps, right? That's why you probably loved the jive because it was so busy. And the simplicity of the rumba takes years. It takes years to even look not awkward. And you didn't look awkward. You did an amazing job.
Thank you. I mean, I definitely felt like I had no idea what I was doing and I was just kind of going for it. I mean, the waltz was better to me. Beautiful. Like I felt like the waltz, I had more fun with it because it was more like princessy and like, you know, it was more pretty and the rumba was more like sensual. I think you executed perfectly. It's supposed to be again, you're dancing to Lionel Richie. Like there's nothing sensual. I'm sorry, Lionel, but there's really nothing sexy and hot about him. But anyway, moving forward. So if Ryan got asked to do Dancing with the Stars, would you, how would you feel about that? I don't know that he would.
But if he did, if he wanted to, would you give your blessing?
Yeah, I would be all for it.
And who would you want him to dance with?
Oh, gosh.
Someone who's married?
You!
I'm retired, girl. Retired.
I love Whitney and Lindsay. Julianne, I mean, if she came back, I would love for him to
she's a host now.
Is she? Oh, right. That's right. She's a host. I love that.
I know.
I love that she's
a host. It's amazing.
Who else? Jenna.
Val's wife.
She comes to, so my daughter is a competitive dancer and she's been at competition.
Ballroom?
Yeah, ballroom.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, no. My daughter is doing competitive dance, but they have ballroom classes.
So I heard in another interview that you did, I don't know if it was recently, but you said that you wanted your daughter to take part in Dancing with the Stars Juniors, or was that something she wanted?
Totally something she wants. So she follows a couple people. We went to Utah and it was one of the Break the Floor competition. And Camry was there and Camry's been on the show. And I didn't know who Camry was until Blakesley told me that she had been on Dancing with the Stars. So I walked up to her and introduced myself and I'm like, I'm part of the Dancing with the Stars family.
Before you were born. I always say that to these kids. I did Dancing with the Stars Juniors. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but they did like one season of it. And I was like, you have no clue the history on this show. Kids, you don't even know what a CD is. Like, we used to rehearse to CDs, for God's sakes.
Totally. They were like not even,
oh my gosh,
even figments of their parents' imagination, or hopes or realities. She would love to. She is 14. And I think I even texted Dina after I met Camry and just said, okay, if you ever do the show again, will you consider my daughter? Because she would love it. She would love it.
Well, she has an unfair advantage because she has dance experience.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
well,
I'm kidding.
Camry did too. Yeah.
Right. No, all of them did, by the way. And same with these celebrities. I mean, don't tell me Nicole Scherzinger didn't have any dance experience. Pair her with Derek Huff and you're like, I might as well quit. Thank you. Thank you so much for this season. Like, really, you ain't gonna win, but you could be the extra and backup dancers. Okay, great.
I'll hire you.
I'm just jealous. So I guess I want to talk about, because I didn't even meet your guys' host, your co-host at that time. I forgot her name. What's her name again?
Lisa, I think.
Lisa. So it was so different. I'm really good friends with Kelly Monaco. We became really good friends. And
will you tell her hi for me? Sorry, that's just...
I will. For sure, I will. And there was that weird summer spinoff. The whole thing was weird. That was the first wardrobe malfunction I remember that got a lot of press, which was not a malfunction. No. You didn't see any nipple. You definitely saw the dress come off. But Nancy Grace's nipple, on the other hand, was definitely, they had to blur that out quick.
Yeah, that's scary.
Which is now we get pedal checked, meaning a woman will walk around, one of the producers, she'll be like, Cheryl, pedal check. And I have to flash her and show her that I'm wearing pedals. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I know. It's insanity, actually. But I get it. No one wants to, we're trying to be family friendly in these skimpy costumes. Still makes no sense to me. But, and then dry humping on TV. But it's okay. But, wait, so you and Louis. So I've known Louis. So Louis got me this job. So he got me Dancing with the Stars. He did. So after, this season, after your guys' season, they wanted to recruit more professional dancers. And he recommended me. And at the time I was living in Harlem with my dance partner, a starving dancer. I wasn't happy. I was like, fine, I'm going to try this. Couldn't speak in front of the camera. I was I sounded like a little mouse, a really high pitched voice. My really short hair with my Dumb and Dumber bangs. It was crazy. But I was just sure, what do I have to lose? Probably not going to get the job. But hey, I can't teach because I was just turning pro. I was in the amateur competitive circuit. So this was all new to me. Anyway, props to Louis. I thank him all the time for, this opportunity. But, Louis intense. And, but he also, he was someone I looked up to in the competitive world. He was definitely, a champion. And I know that, ballroom is an interesting sport because it is very detailed and it's just no BS, right? Yeah. And with partner dancing, it's like a relationship. You're in an arranged marriage. Hello, nice to meet you. Let's do this thing. And communication is key. I mean, everything about it is similar to being in an intimate relationship.
You're right.
And you probably had nothing to compare it to. I guess for me, my question is, how did you guys get along? Did you guys get along right away? You said you didn't really hang out as much. Did you guys hang out off camera? Did you guys talk? Did you guys have good communication?
We talked, but we didn't because he was living, like I said, he was living in Utah. I didn't move to LA. He wasn't in LA. So they basically just hired the pros, and wherever you were, your pro would come to you. And so it kind of was, I don't know, a little unfair, I feel like. So now you're in the same city as your pro, and that's, the producer's responsibility or the show's responsibility to get you guys together. So I feel like had we had the opportunity to at least be in the same freaking city, so we could go out to dinner afterwards. I feel like our practices or rehearsals were super speedy.
Right.
We really didn't have time to hang out. The only time we got to hang out was when we flew to LA, to prep for the show. So to do the like rehearsals in studio.
Oh, wait, so you weren't living in LA at that time?
No, I was living in Colorado.
Got it. Now I get it. Got it.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay,
so he was
worries.
driving from Utah to Colorado.
Did you look at any like ballroom footage prior to saying yes to this show, or?
Teeny bit. Like a teeny bit. I remember the producers telling me, or maybe it was Andrea telling me it was based on like the concept of the show. Yeah. Strictly Ballroom or whatever.
Strictly Come Dancing. It's like the same. It's Dancing with the Stars in England.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. There's a movie with
Strictly Ballroom. Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
With
so
Tina
Strictly
Sparkle.
Ballroom. Exactly. So I think I watched that, and honestly, and maybe a couple clips of Strictly Come Dancing, but nothing to where I really had a clue. Like I didn't know all of the different styles. I didn't know, like, I had heard of the waltz before, just from older
Cotillion.
movies or Cotillion, which I didn't do.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, I didn't know any of the Latin dances. I mean, obviously I knew what cha-cha was, but it was very, very, very basic.
Would you think that, like, were you shocked when you got eliminated? Obviously you didn't. Okay, so wait, another thing that people don't know, first of all, when you hear this package, like when you heard your rumba package, meaning the studio rehearsal footage, you do not actually hear it during dress rehearsal. You don't know what your story is about. You know nothing. All you know is that you've got to dance live soon, especially when they call you and you're up, right? And then all of a sudden you hear and maybe see at that time your package for the first time. Did that throw you off when it was a tension package?
Totally. So like you said, you're standing backstage. You're ready to go on because they've got you positioned. So you're ready to go on right after the package runs, right? Or in the middle of the package. They're like running you out. I think I was actually on the stage watching it on the huge screen with everyone else, right?
Of course. With the live audience. Yeah.
In front of a live audience that I'm supposed to perform it in front of in like 30 seconds, So it was definitely off-putting because first of all, okay, so you're trying to have this intimate dance with someone. You're trying to connect with someone who you don't know that well and in front of a live audience. And then I believe the package was talking about how I felt uncomfortable, how like it was uncomfortable to me to dance with someone so like intimately.
You walked away at some point. It was like major tension. And then Ryan showed up. Assuming that the producers wanted to incorporate your newlyweds, right, at that time, or not so new.
Yep.
Yeah. So they wanted to get him in there. But hopefully, I'm sure you wanted that to happen in a different light.
Totally. I mean, I didn't want him to look like a jealous guy, at all. Right. So I'm like, oh my God, my husband's going to be so pissed at me because this is happening. And the part where like we have both said, Louis is intense and a very strong personality. And especially when he's teaching someone, like for me, I'm a strong personality too. And I was trying to like do the things that he was asking me to do, but based on my dance experience, which, I had learned for years and years and years and years to do something a certain way. And he wanted me to just completely change how I had always learned how to, learn a dance. And this was completely new to me. I had never danced ballroom and had never really even seen it. So I got frustrated. And so, of course, it's reality television. They're going to use that drama. But I'm standing on the stage, getting ready to perform. And it was so freaking stressful. So, yes, thank you for reminding me of that, because I do feel like that definitely played a part in my stress levels. And like, I don't know, the performance even. Like, how can you expect someone to get out there and perform and do what they're supposed to do when they're like, especially me, I'm very analytical and very in my head. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, my husband's watching this package as I'm dancing and he's going to be
millions of other people. Yeah. No, I know. And so nowadays, just so you know, what we do is, first of all, you can kind of, and I don't know if you obviously had experience already on reality television prior to Dancing with the Stars. So did you have an inkling? Like, first of all, how did they even know that Ryan was asking you questions about your experience with
I'm
this
sure they
show?
asked me. I'm sure I told them. I'm kind of an open book. And so I'm sure I just talked about it. Who knows?
And did they say to you, like, we definitely want to incorporate your husband and we think we should bring him in? You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I do remember him coming to a rehearsal and just to watch. And actually he had just gotten me a new puppy. So like he brought the puppy to rehearsal. And so they showcased that.
They didn't show that.
They didn't show.
No, I didn't see any puppy on there. I thought he was carrying something. I just didn't look too deep into it, but it was definitely not about the puppy.
No, yes. So, and it wasn't like he didn't bring it to me and surprise me at the rehearsal, but we had just gotten it.
Do you think that influenced your elimination?
Oh, I'm sure it played a part. Also, I feel like, like the viewers, if the viewers had seen the like puppy and the sweet husband and like they had just rooted for us on The Bachelorette and, if they saw like a sweet story, maybe they would have been like, okay, we want her to stick around more. Who knows? Also, I do have to say, I had multiple people telling me that were friends of mine, like personal friends of mine, including family members who tried to vote and they were not allowed to vote. So there was like a voting glitch that happened that I told producers about. And of course, they're like, there's nothing we can do about it. So who knows what happened? It's freaking water under the bridge. I don't care. It
is what it is. And by the way, that's what has to happen. I mean, you can't see anything from that table, especially with the cameras moving and all of that stuff. So it's like that's important to be prepped. Now, but as far as scoring goes, 676 is a solid score for week 2. Like, honestly, that's like nowadays that is considered a great score. So obviously, yes, I say the package. I always say this to my dance partners. This is the order of importance here. It's not your dancing. Number 1 is your package. Number 2 is the way you look, like as far as like the movement of your dress, the wardrobe, the chemistry between your partner, then the dance, like it happens later. And then actually before the dance is like, for me, I think people want to see your interview backstage. They want to see, that is so important to connect to the audience. Like when I danced with Emmett Smith, Mario Lopez was, that season as well. And obviously, he's got some dance experience and he was the better technical dancer. Like if you were to really just judge this on pure dancing, but Emmett was the person that you wanted to vote for because I point back there because that's him back there. Anyway. Yeah.
Hi, Emmett.
Dug that up out of my stuff I stole from the dance studio. No, I'm kidding. But like, Emmett was the fan favorite because of the journey. Like people do not want to root for someone who's already great. Yeah. Like the psychology behind these packages is quite interesting. Really, I wish people would do more, would talk about it more because it really has everything to do with if you're going to be voted off or not.
You're so right. What you should do is do like a coaching class for all of the people who come on the show.
Like it's not easy.
For sure. I wish that it would have been different. Like it's interesting to think about the packages and like whether or not that like kind of like jealousy component. And I wonder if people thought of me as like, because I wasn't getting along with Louis, that I was being difficult. And so I was the difficult one when they don't see the entire rehearsal and they don't know my story like completely, especially the judges. Like I maybe met them like briefly, so they don't know my full story. They don't know the struggles that I was dealing with, like mentally, not like physically. Obviously, I had back problems, but whatever. Like it's the mental component.
Can you say more about that? Because there's a whole. I mean, this is another episode in itself. It is it's mentally the mental health side of everything. Can you speak more about that?
It's hard because, first of all, you're on television, so you're putting yourself out there. And I was comfortable with reality television, so that part wasn't necessarily hard for me. But for people who are like athletes or like have never experienced the cameras in their face all the time, that is a really big component, I would think. So that wasn't that for me. It was dealing with a person that I have to immediately respect. I don't know Louis from Adam, right?
Mm-hmm,
And I know that he's a champion and I know he should be respected, but I'm also like, I'm brand new to this. Can you like maybe treat me with a little more compassion, you know?
Got
and
it.
Louis was just like, we're going to win this. You're a dancer. Oh, and that too is that like I came into it with a dance background and I think that it was like held against me, kind of like how you said, Emmett was like, you know, everyone wanted to go for Emmett. Yeah, exactly. The underdog. So I came into this thinking, okay, I've got a dance background. So at least I know like timing and I know how to learn choreography. Or at least I thought I did. And like I think that people probably said, whatever, she thinks she's going to win.
The judges as well, honey. Like the judges are going to be harder on you.
Totally. So anyway, I feel like had I not had any dance experience and I came in there and had the same struggles, people would have felt sorry for me and would have rooted for me more so. Who knows? I mean, this is
you're
all
right.
conjecture.
You're right. Listen, you're right. I also think that if you had another season prior to your season, you would be not as, I guess, hesitant. Like this was a normal thing because you would have seen it. Like you would have been like, oh, so the dry humping is one of the things that I need to do. Okay, let me just make sure that this is something I want to do. You know, like it. I think you again. I don't. You know, that was a really hard position you were in. You had nothing to compare it to, and that is so hard.
It is hard.
Like,
and
it's so hard.
Thing. For us, I think for our season, we had nothing to compare it to. I was just comfortable being in front of the camera. I was comfortable dancing. I was excited to dance. I was excited to try this new type of dancing for me. And I had so much fun, like making the connections with the people and actually being back in rehearsal again. But it was definitely draining. And mind you, my head is spinning constantly with like knowing the dances, right? Like you don't have a lot of time to learn it. I think the jive we had started early, so we had started learning it, even though we got booted, so we didn't finish learning it. I don't know. I was always like worried about whether or not I was going to get the dance, if I was going to get the steps, if I would know it by that night. And I'm trying to plan travel and, you know, spend time with my new husband. And we had a new puppy. And so life was like, you know, I didn't have kids at the time. But it's just chaotic and your brain is constantly going. And like, if you are a person who isn't super confident in something, I was not confident at all in my ability to dance ballroom. I was just worried. I was stressed out.
See, this is what they should have had in your package. It's like, it's literally this because I'm also very analytical to a fault.
Yeah.
Especially since I've been sober for the past 5 years. I am even, oh my God, no wonder I used to drink. I feel sorry for my own brain. But like literally, I mean, they'll tell you, the producers here at iHeart, they'll freaking tell you, they're like, well, you got to research, but you're good at that. Like, I know, like, I get it. I get it. Like sometimes it's not necessarily, it works more against me than it works for me, especially when you're dealing with the arts. But like my very first 2 seasons I won because I was not necessarily in my right mind. Because I wasn't over analyzing everything. And there's a pattern here. Like once I stopped drinking, I started thinking too much. And when I started writing my own choreography out on paper. Like,
you did? And you probably would know it by heart, just like
the men's step, the male step, and the woman's steps. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this to myself? Yeah. And then I start with that comes questioning yourself because you're like, wait a second, am I doing? I never forget this. I was dancing with Chad Ochocinco, and this was the first time I had this, I guess, this feeling of like noticing my thoughts, right? Like stepping back and seeing my thoughts. And I literally was tricking myself. And I was like, well, what if I fuck up my own choreography? What if? And I did. And it threw him off.
Oh,
and then ever since then, it's like look, I was still like a drink. I'm an addict. Like I was still drinking then, but it was like, that was the turn of events for me where it was like, it was a downhill slippery slope basically. And I know that. And I know, but also let's like be a little forgiving too of each other because of the fact that we're on camera. Like this whole thing is not normal. Like, of course you're going to question yourself. And I always say to my partners too, like, the most important thing is to be vulnerable, because you're not going to know what the hell, even if you have dance experience. Actually, I think that hurts you, because you have to untrain your brain.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have to untrain the brain, instead of when I have someone like Emmett, I can mold him. Plus he's an athlete. Plus he's eating, shitting, drinking, dancing. You know that naturally they do that as athletes, especially when you're like him and you're like one of the greats, right? So he's doing the homework.
And that's what I had a problem with. I needed to learn the steps first. And Louis was just like, feel it. I'm like, but I don't know what to feel.
No, listen,
I love Louis.
I love Louis too.
Anyway, it was just hard.
Would you do this again? Would you do Dancing with the Stars again? And if so, who would you want to dance with? I mean, honestly, no, Louis won't be listening to this. I'm sure he will. He'll be right on it.
I probably would. And I would, and I'm hesitant about it just because life right now is about my kids and and my husband and the schedule. So I know how grueling it is. Like, I know that basically these people move off to LA and they're there for months on end. And what hasn't changed is the fact that, like you said, you're dry humping, with someone. And I know my husband wouldn't be super keen on that still to this day, even though we've been married for 20 years.
Or even if he knew that Louis is gay, like there would still be
Exactly. It's still hard. It's still hard. So that would be a conversation I would have to have with Ryan.
Of course.
I would love the opportunity. I mean, more so, I would actually love the opportunity for my daughter to be on the junior show. But if it was like, bring back the people, all the people who were eliminated first, or not maybe all of them, because there's been a whole lot of seasons, but maybe a little group.
The good ones. The good ones.
See how they do.
The good ones that were eliminated too soon, because there's a few.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So anyway, and mind you, I always say this, I was one of 6. So it's like I got to the
You made the final, for God's sakes. You made the semifinal. You definitely made. There's like 16 couples nowadays. Like, you were top 6. That's when you're already at halftime and you're like, I never want to see my partner again. Anything he does is annoying. He stinks. He smells. He's so gross. Like, you hate each other. Like, you hit that like 7-year itch almost in a relationship, and you're like, disgusting. You're not funny. Totally. Shut up. Yeah.
Yes. So,
you're at that mark.
I would love to do the show. I am also 50 years old. And so,
girl, you 50 years young, 50 years young. I
love you. Thank you.
You look amazing.
I'm just saying my body probably wouldn't move, that well. I did just have, so I think I mentioned this in the beginning. I was a Miami Heat dancer and we just had an alumni reunion. And so I got to actually dance on the court again. And it was so much fun. I had the best time, but it's just, it's a lot about schedule and if I could fit mental it into health. My life. And mental health, true. But going into it, having this conversation, and I would call you and be like, okay, what do I have to do?
Absolutely. Girl, I'm telling you, I should write a book on how to prepare for this. Have you given any advice to our alumni that have been a part of the Bachelorette franchise, or anyone like the Golden Bachelor? Would you want, I think he would be great.
Oh, it would be amazing. Actually, the first time I met him, I showed a video. I think it's on a post that I did on Instagram. He was like, let's dance. And he danced with me and sang at last to me as we were dancing. I was like,
so
okay,
charming.
He's very charming and very wholesome. And I think that would be the perfect combination for him.
Yes.
Stars. So it's funny that you ask, because if I've talked to any of the Bachelorette people about Dancing with the Stars, because I was just on another podcast talking about how for me, I'm kind of more old school since I'm OG, and it, whenever I hear that a new person, a person is going to go straight from getting engaged or being at the end of the show to being on Dancing with the Stars, I get very worried. I'm very maternal towards all of these kids, because they're a lot younger than me. And I get protective of their relationship, because I feel like it is really freaking hard. It takes a really strong connection and relationship to be able to get through the mental part and the stress and the jealousy part of Dancing with the Stars. And so I feel like it's really hard for me. I am very supportive of anyone who wants to go on the show. That would be completely hypocritical if I was like, don't go do Dancing with the Stars. But at the same time, I didn't do it right after we got engaged. It was a couple years at least after. And I just feel like I want to tell them, just wait. Like maybe there will be another opportunity. Like Caitlin Bristow, she got to do it way after her show aired, her Bachelorette. I get worried as kind of the mature OG of the Bachelorette that these couples are not going to be able to last
because they just met each other. Like they don't even know each other.
Totally. And it's a lot. And it's not just all the stress and the mental part of it. It's like you're gone. You're actually at rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. No, you are eating, breathing. Like I said, this is it. It consumes your whole life if you want to even do well, period. End of discussion. Like, because let's be real, like, yes, we have our scheduled rehearsal time, but like, there's also, we got to continue the rehearsal. I'm just saying.
Totally.
Because like this is not
or you're
necessarily
like reviewing the video.
Yes.
And, like making sure you whatever. I don't know.
There's also fittings. There's interviews. There's all this stuff. It's 7 days a week. Now, would you be? I mean, I don't know if they've ever done this. Would they have maybe if they had both the couple like doing it, meaning like
me and Ryan.
Yes, like if they had the newly engaged couple.
Yeah,
anyway.
I would be totally for that. Yes,
I'm not going to give them more ideas that I already have. No, I'm kidding.
Right?
I have so many ideas, like as far as like making it work, right? And I think that, but still, that would really be a test to a relationship. But there is no foundation yet, right? Like I don't know what this is. I don't know how it's like. I've never been a part of it, but like I'm pretty sure that this is all on camera, right? Everything's all on camera. Very rarely did you even have time to have a private conversation. Is that right?
Once, like essentially once or twice. So Ryan and I remember during my hometown date with him, we were in the car together and he passed me a note that I read to myself. Like that was kind of like on our own time, but it was like I was reading a note that he wrote. So it wasn't like we were face to face. And then you have
what did it say?
That he was falling in love with me.
My God, that's so cute.
Still have it. So, and then, the fantasy suite. So if you accept the fantasy suite together, then the cameras go away and you get that night to be able, everyone thinks that it's just about sex. It's not. It is very much so about not having the cameras in your face and being able to have like real conversations about how you're doing in the process and not feel like you can't share because the camera's going to blast it to the world,
How many hours is that though? Is it night only or is it all day and night?
It's a night only.
Got it.
So I mean, there's, you can count on, probably one hand the number of hours. Actually, probably two hands and maybe a foot.
Depending if you sleep or not.
Yeah, you don't sleep.
I'm pretty sure.
If you want to talk. But,
right. Or if you hate each other, go straight to bed. But not in the same one. Not in the same bed. Okay. But so wait, I have a question. So you weren't even married when you did Dancing with the Stars. You were engaged.
Yeah, we were. We were married.
Oh, you were for 2 years, you said.
Yeah, exactly. We got married in 2003. So if it was in 2005, it was 2 years. Maybe it was, if it was 2004.
So you were able to discuss that you got this offer. How do you feel about it? Like, do you even know? Like, you had no idea because you have never seen the show.
Although, so after they're done taping, there's about 3 months, at least there was for me. I don't know if that's changed at all drastically, but you have 3 months between when you stop filming and when it airs. So what you do is you have
Dancing with the Stars?
No, sorry. Bachelorette.
Oh, okay.
So once they get engaged, they have like these little times where you can, like, I can't remember what they call them. Rendezvous were what they called them during my season. So you go, like, we went to Vegas one time, but we're just in a condo, like, spending time together. So that's kind of when you're really getting to know each other after you've gotten engaged, which is crazy. But they have had, that time since the show stopped airing, since they got engaged. So Charity Charity will have that time to get to know Dalton. But like your point of them doing it together is genius because they could share the experience together. And like, it's like, yeah, the guy is with the girl, but the girl is with the guy. So how can you hold it against
and then
you?
if they're with like if they're with like Val and Jenna, then it's like the married couple against the almost married couple.
Yes. I love it. I mean, that would be brilliant.
So what is your advice like to Charity, like moving into this whole, like, first of all, she's never been on television, I'm assuming, not to this, extreme, I guess. And I'm sure she's getting recognized. Like, I remember my 10 seconds of fame, like it was pretty intense, especially coming just from like a dance world where you don't necessarily, no one knows you, it's just, it's a lot. So when you're shooting The Bachelorette, are you even outside of the cameras? Meaning, like, is it like Big Brother where you're like, you don't really know what it's going to be like, people's reactions to you? Or has she already shot it? Like how she's already shot it.
So you can't like wear your ring around. Like you have to keep that on the DL. You have to
not go out in public.
Well, you can go out in public for sure, but you can't go out in public together until it's announced. So
so they haven't really gotten to know each other too much. I mean, maybe via Zoom or FaceTime.
Well, that's what I said, the rendezvous that they have. So they can go on these scripts together. And I think that Charity told me that they had maybe like 6 or something so far. So they've had a lot of opportunities to like be without cameras and like hang out and really truly get to know each other and create that foundation.
Okay. And how are they? Are they pretty solid, do you think?
I think they're very solid. I'm
good.
Really excited for them. I think that even if she had chosen Joey, who was the other person, like it seems like they had great chemistry too. So I feel like they would have been solid too, but I'm really hopeful for her. And I was on the Men Tell All her season, and it was me and Deanna and Desiree who came back as bachelorettes and gave her kind of advice. And I would give her the same advice about Dancing with the Stars. It's really about, obviously you need to prioritize Dancing with the Stars because you've signed up for it. You need to rehearse. You need to like be there for all the interviews and the press and all that. Right. So yes, but priority needs to be your relationship. Like if you are in a heated discussion with your fiance and a producer calls, don't answer the call. Like call, have them reschedule or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like prioritize your relationship as much as you can. And then request for Louis.
Because we all know now he's harmless.
Exactly. He's harmless. No, I feel like prioritization is definitely the advice, just period across the board. And then because you are in this whirlwind, you are like getting all these opportunities to go to parties and, work with companies and whatever. And I feel like you just, as long as you keep your relationship number one, you'll hopefully come out unscathed, And then I think, just like you said, communication, it's really important for you and your dance partner, but it's even more important for her new fiance. So,
and by the way, they're going to want him on camera. So it's the whole thing, like just include him. And who would you want her to dance with? I mean,
oh gosh, I'm
someone who's not single or horny.
True. Exactly. Like Artem he's
Artem's married. Oh, he's not. Yeah, he's married. He's married. Most of them are married except for Alan. Stay far away from that guy. I'm kidding. Kidding. And Gleb. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. I'm kidding. It's true. Like maybe someone who's married so that the relationship isn't tested as much as it would be.
Or who doesn't play for our team, like really.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me forget about everybody else. This was so fun. Like I could talk to you for freaking weeks
same.
With our analytical brains. We would be nonstop. But tell me about you now. How's life now? Where are you? What are you working on?
Life is good. We are actually currently moving, as we shared that we share this.
Oh my God.
Before we started recording. So I have been living in the Vail Valley, which is in Colorado for 20 years. After Ryan and I got together on the show, I moved to Vail and we bought a house and have lived in it since. So we've brought both our kids home there and they know nothing else. And we just decided to move to Denver. So we're only a couple hours away. Brian has been working for Denver Fire for 3 years. And so he's been commuting back and forth 2 hours whenever he has to work. And that takes a toll. We have family here who we're actually living with until we find a house and sell ours, which has been a little stressful too. But so the move is a big part of life right now. And then I am just, still playing mom as my number one role and trying to stay organized with all of their activities, competitive dancing. My son plays hockey and all of that stuff. And then kind of on the side, whenever we can get a guest to come on and chat with us, Bob Guinea and I was on
Bob.
I know, it's the best.
Wait,
right?
why hasn't Bob done Dancing with the Stars?
True. That's a really good question. They should totally have Bob do it. I love that idea.
He's a great personality. He would come to the show all the time.
Awesome. I know. He's awesome. So we host the Almost Famous OG podcast. So Almost Famous started with Ashley, I, and Ben, and has been pretty successful, I think, in terms of podcast land. Very successful. And they had us on the show. And actually, Bob and I did an interview together, I don't know, a couple years ago. And we got on text afterwards and we're like, that was so fun. We need to do something together. And we reached out to Sugarman and
Amy. Shout out to Amy.
Big shout out. I met Amy back in the day on the Ryan Seacrest show, or even with, oh gosh, what was his name? One of the radio DJs that she used to represent. She's still mine. Anyway. So connected with Sugarman and she was like, come on, Almost Famous. And then we ended up doing OGs. So it's been really fun because we get to talk to people from, the beginning of Bachelor, Bachelorette. And
you can do it from the comfort of your own home. Still be 100%. Be there for your kids.
Yes, exactly. So it's like the perfect job. I love podcasting. I had a podcast called Better, Etc. And I loved doing it, but I kind of did too much. And I feel like I didn't have iHeart behind me to do all the things that they do. And they're so good at it, that it makes it like so easy to jump on a Zoom, have a really fun conversation for 20 minutes, an hour, whatever. And then get back to my life,
Perfect. Perfect.
So yeah. Anyway,
thank you so much for your time, Trista. It was so fun, to really just be able to talk and share some experiences that we have in common. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure you guys follow us at Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans on our Instagram handle, and make sure you comment. Let me know who you want me to interview. What do y'all think? Let me know.